Hello, I'm Amy Johnson. The ongoing conflict in Gaza has taken a devastating toll on the region's healthcare system, with the World Health Organization (WHO) reporting that Israeli forces have stormed the Al-Adha hospital in the Jabalia refugee camp. According to WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, approximately 140 people, including medical staff, patients, and their companions, were inside the facility when it was raided by Israeli troops. Dr. Maran, a physician who was forced to evacuate Al-Adha hospital, provided a first-hand account of the harrowing ordeal. "We were working as usual when the Israeli military suddenly besieged the hospital," he said. "They would not allow anyone inside, so we remained to care for the 14 patients who were too critical to be moved." However, on Thursday, May 23, at p.m. local time, the Israeli army forced nearly all medical personnel to evacuate the premises, leaving only 4 staff members and 2 paramedics behind to tend to patients. The situation at Al-Adha hospital is emblematic of the broader challenges facing Gaza's healthcare system. According to Dr. Matt Gilbert, an emergency physician with extensive experience in Palestinian healthcare, the Israeli offensive has rendered 80% of Gaza's territory inaccessible, effectively closing 6 hospitals and 9 primary healthcare centers. The remaining number of partially operative hospitals in Gaza is now between 7 and 9, down from 36 previously, Dr. Gilbert stated. This illustrates the systematic Israeli attacks on the civilian healthcare system, which should be protected under international humanitarian laws and the Geneva Convention. Both Dr. Moran and Dr. Gilbert have appealed to international organizations, including the WHO and the Red Cross, to intervene and ensure the protection of patients and medical personnel in Gaza. However, they report that these pleas have largely gone unanswered. The Israeli military has defended its actions, claiming that Palestinian militant groups such as Hamas are using hospitals as bases of operation. However, these assertions have been met with skepticism, as no independent investigations have substantiated these claims. As the conflict continues to escalate, the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains dire, with hospitals struggling to cope with the influx of casualties amid dwindling resources and ongoing attacks on medical facilities. The targeting of civilian healthcare infrastructure is a clear violation of international law and has drawn condemnation from human rights organizations worldwide. Calls are mounting for the international community to take decisive action to protect medical personnel and ensure the safe passage of humanitarian aid into the region. The dire situation at Al-Adha hospital is just one example of the broader humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs (OCHA), the current escalation in hostilities has resulted in over 230 Palestinians killed, including 65 children, and more than 1,700 injured since May 10. The high casualty figures have overwhelmed Gaza's already strained healthcare system, which has been further crippled by the destruction of medical facilities and infrastructure. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reports that at least 18 hospitals and clinics have been damaged or forced to shut down due to Israel's offensive. The attacks on healthcare facilities are unacceptable and a violation of international law, stated Matthias Schmale, director of OCHA's operations in the occupied Palestinian territory. Healthcare workers must be allowed to safely do their jobs, and the wounded and sick must have access to the urgent medical care they need. The international humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders (MSF) has also sounded the alarm over the deteriorating conditions in Gaza. MSF has deployed emergency medical teams to the region and set up a surgical unit near the Israeli border to treat the influx of casualties. However, ensuring consistent medical care and the steady flow of supplies remains an immense challenge amidst the bombardments. The situation is extremely precarious. Basic supplies and humanitarian aid struggle to enter due to the blockade, said Dr. Ashraf Al-Kedra, spokesperson for Gaza's health ministry. Beyond the immediate toll on human life, the prolonged conflict is exacting a heavy psychological toll, especially on Gaza's most vulnerable populations. According to the UN Relief and Works Agency UNRWA, over 50,000 Palestinians have been displaced due to the latest round of violence, with many families seeking shelter in UNRWA-run schools. We're seeing high levels of psychosocial distress among children and families who have endured repeated cycles of violence and displacement, said Tamara Awrafai, UNRWA's spokesperson for the occupied Palestinian territory. The need for mental health and psychosocial support services is extremely high. As the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens, calls are intensifying for all parties to adhere to international laws and facilitate unfettered access for humanitarian actors to provide essential aid and services. However, a durable resolution to the conflict remains elusive, with both Israeli and Palestinian factions appearing entrenched in their positions. The international community faces growing pressure to take concrete action to alleviate civilian suffering and work towards a sustainable political solution to end the decades-long conflict in the region. The recognition of an independent Palestinian state by Norway, Ireland, and Spain has reignited debate. The debate centers around Palestine's path to potential full UN membership and wider international acceptance of Palestinian sovereignty. The moves by the three European nations add them to the 143 of 193 UN member states that have already recognized Palestine. While largely symbolic, this increased recognition gives Palestine another minor diplomatic victory in its long quest for statehood and full UN membership, which has been repeatedly blocked by U.S. vetoes at the Security Council. However, as several analysts pointed out, recognition alone does not create a Palestinian state on the ground. The key obstacles remain the lack of a negotiated two-state solution with Israel and the latter's continued military occupation of the West Bank and blockade of Gaza. Former Israeli Minister Yossi Beilin stressed that real peace can only happen if both sides genuinely want it, suggesting the current Israeli government under Netanyahu is the primary impediment. Other experts like Julian Barnes-Dacey argued increasing international pressure and potential isolation of Israel may be necessary to push it back towards a political track. The recognition does have some concrete impacts though, such as enabling the International Criminal Court's recent attempts to pursue arrest warrants against Israeli and Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes in Gaza, amongst them most notably Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, and his Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant. Ultimately, while welcomed by Palestinians, the recognition is seen as an incremental step that will likely not change facts on the ground without a broader strategy involving concerted international pressure on Israel and Palestinian reforms to resolve the long-standing conflict through a negotiated two-state settlement. The debate continues over what leverage and combination of carrots and sticks could potentially achieve that breakthrough. This has been Amy Johnson with the latest on Gaza. If you would like to continue to receive our news coverage, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Farewell for now.